NFL, the schedule is out, 112 days away from kickoff. Graziano has put together some overreactions. Dan, if I said the Cowboys are going to have an unhappy holiday season, is that an overreaction?
It's not. Cowboys have a Week 10 bye, which is nice, but then after that they play a Monday night game. Then they have a short week game against Philly, an even shorter week game against the Chiefs. They got a short week game on Christmas at Washington. The travel schedule and the rest schedule for the Cowboys in the second half of their season is extremely challenging, regardless of opponents. And by the way, those are some pretty good-looking opponents.
They have 4 Thursday night games or Thursday games this season, which is the first time any team has ever had that. When you see these schedules come out and you see it backloaded like that, and we take into account they bring in George Pickens and all that, what does it mean for the Cowboys?
I mean, it means the Cowboys need to start this season playing extremely well. They need to start at a high level. They need to start by winning football games. There will be no moral victories for Shoddy and this team early on in the season. When you truly look at this roster and the way they've built themselves offensively, this team can be extremely explosive, extremely competitive. They need to shore up some things on the defensive side of the football. But if they don't start early and if they're not winning early, we know how the cycle of what the voices outside of this building will say and the pressure that can be on this team.
Let me give you their first 4 games. They open, we all had seen that already. They open on that Thursday night at Philadelphia, the defending champions, and they're home to the Giants, then at Chicago, and then they get Green Bay. What will the Cowboys be after 4 games?
I want to say 2-2. I want to say 2-2, which, you know, listen.
That'd be pretty good.
That'd be pretty good. I think the biggest thing for the Dallas Cowboys, listen, when Dak Prescott plays a full season, they're pretty much banked for 9 wins.
Exactly.
At minimum, okay? I think for them, the number one thing I said for the Dallas Cowboys, their offensive line needs to come together. They had no running game last year, and I think Dak Prescott operates best when they have a really good running game to go along with what they have on the outside. That they need to show up on the defense, the rush defense. But like RC said, they got to get out the gates quick because that back half, boy, it could be troublesome.
The trade they made for George Pickens really opened up my eyes. That was the aggressive move. They didn't do it in free agency. They did it a different way.
When was the last time the Dallas Cowboys ever made an aggressive move like that? That's what we've been talking about with them for years. It's like, where's the move?
It sort of had to be laid up on a silver platter, and it was, with George Pickens being moved from the Pittsburgh Steelers. But it also finally showed that this team has a sense of urgency in trying to win and trying to do something different. But it doesn't matter if this team is 500, like Graziano said, after the bye week, it's going to be extremely difficult to win some of those games, not having rest, playing against good football teams. In that travel schedule, you have to have some momentum headed into that.
So the things that we were looking for yesterday, which teams got sort of favorable and unfavorable? That brings us to the Lions. If I were to say Detroit's 2-year streak of winning that division is in serious jeopardy, is that an overreaction?
Not at all an overreaction. Remember, they didn't win the division until the last week of the season last year, so tough division to start. But remember this, they had only 3 outdoor games all last season. This season, they have 7. And their road schedule, if you just factor in last year's records, their combined winning percentage of the teams they will play on the road this year was .667 last year. I mean, they have some tough games. They have some outdoor games. Jared Goff, 10 points lower career QBR outdoors than indoors. Going to be tougher for the Lions this year.
And the other piece of it is, too, you lost both of your coordinators.
Right.
You know, this team, to me, was already going to take a step back before we saw how daunting this schedule can be. And when you start to be one of those teams that the expectation is now much higher than it has been throughout your history, when you hit adversity, those things are difficult to come through.
That's the thing. I don't want anybody to think I'm saying the Lions aren't going to be good. They won 15 games. Like if they go 12-5, that's a really good year, but it's still a 3-game drop-off.
I think the biggest thing, and just kind of, piggybacking here, there's something real about brain drain when you're talking about, a team like the Lions. Think about it. We just mentioned their coordinators. We're not even talking about all the assistant coaches that they've lost. So they've lost a lot of really good coaches to other organizations.
7 of their 9 road opponents made the playoffs last year. The 2 that didn't are the Bengals and Bears. Right. The Bengals have Joe Burrow, and the Bears, we think, might be massively improved.
And the other part about this is, too, and D. Wood knows this, Graziano's seen it, supposed to and should have is draining as well. We were supposed to beat the San Francisco 49ers the year before. we should have gone to the Super Bowl last year, but we have injuries. You only get so many opportunities to capitalize on your window. And it's been 2 years in a row now that the Detroit Lions have fallen short. And now because of your great success, you lose important pieces to the puzzle.
They open, the Lions open at Green Bay, then they have home Chicago, and then at Baltimore. That is potentially a very tough start for them as well. One more, Graziano. If I said Jackson Dart is going to be the Giants' starting quarterback by November, is that an overreaction?
It's not. The Giants knew they had a tough schedule, but then it came out, and the order of the game made it even worse. 2 straight division road games to open the season? Unheard of. You finally get home. Who's sitting there waiting for you? Oh, it's the Chiefs. They're usually pretty good. Chargers are good. You got two Eagle games in 3 weeks, right? One of those is a short week, that week 6 game, home game against the Eagles. Look, they want to sit Jackson Dart as long as possible. They want him to take as much time as he needs to get ready. But we all know this does not work. The only team that has pulled this off is the 2017 Chiefs. They started 5-0 with Alex Smith. They were able to keep Patrick Mahomes on the bench. They stayed in first place all year. If these Giants start 5-0, sure, I could see Russell Wilson playing for a while. But I'm not betting on it.
Listen, as a great philosopher, Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Right.
And that's exactly what you're looking at with the New York Football Giants right now.
If these Giants start 5-0, they're going to win the Super Bowl. They open at Washington, at Dallas, then home Kansas City, home against the Chargers. They have the Eagles coming up almost immediately after that. It is brutal.
Yeah, I mean, it's brutal for any team right now that's playing in the East. You understand what sort of teams you have to face, and now you have the AFC West, which is also an extremely difficult division to play. And it depends on the way that Joe Shane and Brian Daboll are looking at their jobs. Right, because you don't necessarily have to win the NFC East this year, but you do have to show something. If this team is showing as a roster, we are good enough to win football games, but Russell Wilson is holding us back, then I think that's when you make the move to Jackson Dart. But if you have a plan, knowing you're not winning a Super Bowl anyway, don't allow getting curb stomped early on in the season to make you put a quarterback in that's not ready to play and possibly ruin not only him, but your franchise for the next 2 to 3 years when you've already been struggling.
I've seen it before. That sounds great in theory, but when you have the situation of, a regime that's on the hot seat, you draft a first-round quarterback, these things tend to play out differently.
Last year's Patriots are the example. They thought Jacoby Brissett would play better than he did. So by week 5, it's like, well, we got to give the rookie a shot.
And then we thought the rookie would play worse than he did. And he came out and actually played pretty well, and that's the point. So you never know which way
But in that situation, you knew it was the quarterback, too. You knew Jacoby Brissett was not playing
Here's the deal. You have to have something to sell. If you can sell success, sell that. If you can't, sell hope. And
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay mình hướng dẫn các bạn làm vòng với tiêu đề là bàn phấn. Bây giờ mình sẽ bắt đầu làm. Lần này một con vật thi được